Greetings to you, and here we are with English for Teachers, number 4, Unit 4, Teachers. Here we're talking about getting the message across. Two ways of doing that, of course. We need somebody to transmit the message, and we need somewhere to do it. So today we're going to start with our phrase of the day, which is raise the bar. Raise the bar. What's the meaning? Okay, you've got three possibilities here. One, quality improvement in a process or project. So does that mean when you're looking to improve something or make it better? Number two, a discussion into details which may be hidden. Remember, the verb to raise can be to raise an issue or to raise something with somebody else to discuss. So that could be so. You're talking about something, and maybe there are some details which you have not actually considered. So you want to talk about them. And raise the bar, maybe it means a superfluous or out of context comment, in which case we might be thinking about to raise something at the bar, which is not quite the same as raising something at a meeting. Maybe. Anyway, I wonder, just take 30 seconds, have a look, and decide which of these meanings do you think fits best. It's a very common expression. It's not one of our old-fashioned things which we don't use anymore. Are you ready? And the meaning is a quality improvement in a process or project, which comes from athletics. So track and field, when people are going to the Olympic Games or practicing the high jump. So the high jump has got two posts, which are vertical, and a bar, which is horizontal. And obviously, as the competition goes on, you have to raise the bar to make things more demanding and to improve the quality of performance. So raise the bar. You're going to raise the bar today with your teaching, with your English for teaching, as you always do. Okay, what teachers do? What teachers do? Think for a moment, some words there. There's your mind map. Tell us some of the things that teachers do in class. What do teachers do in class? Think for a moment. You write in the words there. I'm not going to tell you. Good. You are creating your own vocabulary treasure chest. Okay, so when you do come into contact in an English speaking environment, you have got all this little treasure of vocabulary. Okay, so what do teachers do at a staff meeting? At staff meetings, which you don't do in class. What's the difference? You're not talking to kids, you're talking to your colleagues, to your workmates. Things teachers do at a staff meeting. Have a look, take some notes, keep that, it's for you. What about out of school? What do teachers do out of school? Obviously, you do all the things everybody else does, but things which might be specifically related to teaching. Okay? But you do them out of school. Interesting. And then finally, what about some of the things that teachers don't like doing? There are many, I'm sure. So make a note. Things teachers don't like doing. Okay, that's great. You keep that. That's your mind map. Okay, you've got to organize your own vocabulary as you improve that. That's one way of doing it. Okay, here we go. Teachers. How do you define yourself? Are you a sage on the stage or the guide on the side? The sage on the stage. What's a sage? A wise person. Merlin, Gandalf. Okay? A wise person is a sage, a philosopher. On the stage or the guide on the side. I wonder what the difference is when you're talking about teaching and teaching approach. The sage on the stage at the front of the class, who knows absolutely everything, all the mystery, all the magic, and decides to share this bit by bit, large chunks, small chunks, fragments with their students. That's one way of doing it. I think that's very traditional. Or we have the guide on the side. Okay, the guide on the side, remember, there's somebody who is guiding their students to discover, who may be letting them take the initiative. Which way do they want to go? Often thought of as being a more kind of contemporary method. Well, maybe it works. Maybe it works for some classes, for some students, for some subjects, for some curriculum. Maybe with others, it doesn't. And here are some quotes and some sayings about teachers. So have a look, and I'd like you read through them and choose two and decide which ones you like. I mean, so choose two which either have a negative or a positive meaning for you with your experience or what you would like, or, you know, maybe when you were a child, you can say, well, that actually applied to this person or that person, and make a few notes. So when you've read through them, stop the video for 2 or 3 minutes. So you've had time to have a look, make your notes. Why do you agree? If you want to tell me in the chat box on the platform, that's absolutely fine too. Okay, so stop now for 3 minutes or however long you need to make some notes. And this is a teacher. I'm not sure if he's a sage on the stage or a guide on the side, could be. What do you think his priorities are? When do you think he was teaching? What kind of institution? What kind of students? Any idea which country it might be? For you personally, is this a negative or is it a positive picture? What do you think? Does it show a negative or a positive scene? Anything you can think of? So if you wanted to look at the, you know, people often look at it and say, gosh, that looks very Dickensian, like Victorian England, and that's, you know, very negative, and it seems to be very harsh and, you know, very disciplined. Thou shalt not steal. Well, there's your first piece of advice, terrifying people into observing the 10 commandments. But there's number one, but thou shalt not steal, because if one steals, one might be sent off to Australia or another penal colony somewhere. That was the kind of punishment we had back in those times. He's also towering over those small children, looking very stern. Doesn't seem to be a lot of engagement between student and teacher. Whilst the other students are not looking at the teacher, they're looking at another boy. And it seems like a very, as I say, a very harsh, austere environment. Having said that, the positive things, obviously it's an environment where the children's comfort is taken into account. It looks clean. There's a heater. So they're trying to make sure the children are well looked after, their welfare. On the other hand, the teacher is delegating some responsibilities to one of the students to work in a group with those older, more mature students. So he's reading to them and the others are following. So he's promoting independent learning, whilst he pays attention to the three smaller boys and seems to be helping them with their reading. So actually something which looks very harsh and very negative might have some positives. I'm not saying they are, but we can find something positive everywhere. What do you think? Anything missing there? Think. Why aren't there any girls in this classroom? What do you think the girls are doing? Any opinions about that? Stop, take some notes, just for 1 minute. Stop now. And here we have a real teacher. Let's watch him. And you tell me, think for a moment, how would you feel in his class? And does it match your experience in any way? Watch it and let me know. So first watch it, then stop it, and then take some notes. Typical.
Sissy Jukes. Sissy is not a name. Don't call yourself Sissy. Call yourself Cecilia. And his father once calls me Sissy, sir. He always did. Then he has no business to do it. Tell him he must go. Who is your father? He belongs to horse riding, if you please, sir. We don't want to know anything of the horse riding here. Don't tell us of that. And tell him there must be no more Sissy. Give me your definition of a horse. Girl number 20, unable to define a horse. Girl number 20, possessed of no facts in reference to one of the commonest of animals. Some boy's definition of a horse. Yours.
Quadruped, graminivorous, 40 teeth, name, 24 grinders, 4 eye teeth, and 12 incisors. Sheds coat in spring, and in marshy countries sheds hooves too. Hooves hard and requiring to be shod with iron. A horse.
Cecilia Jupe.
Well, that was very harsh, of course. What did you see there? Take 5, 10 minutes and make some notes about that. What kind of learning environment was that? How would you feel in this class? What would you improve? Is it fair to judge a 19th century classroom setting, children, their conditions, with what we expect today? Have there been any developments in teaching theory or practice or philosophy at any point? If you look back to some of the quotes about teachers, what do you think? Can you match any of the things they're saying there with the way that this teacher was working? Take 5 minutes, stop the video now. Of course, there are other types of teachers, as we saw before. So I'm wondering, what kind of teacher would you like to be? Look at these guys. Can you try and imagine a definition for each type? Number 1, there's a mama bear. Number 2, there's a silent wizard. Number 3, there's an alpha. Number 4, a techie. Number 5, a free spirit. Look at those photographs or those illustrations and decide which kind of qualities, what positive qualities would each one embody? What do they do in their classes? How do they work with the kids? What are their priorities? What could they bring to your faculty or to your school, to the group of teachers, the team you're working with? Can you think of somebody who kind of more or less fits in with each category? I'm sure you can. You might not know, maybe 2 and 3 are a little bit more difficult to define. Try and do it. Try and think some of the qualities which each would have. And imagine if you had a 10-year-old son or daughter, which kind of teacher would you like most to be there and why with them? Do you want somebody who's just like you, a parent? Or do you want somebody who's going to complement it maybe with a different set of skills, a different approach, and strike up a different relationship with your child? And finally, which one do you identify with most? Are you a mama bear, a silent wizard, an alpha, a techie, or a free spirit? Think about it. Now we're going to see the definitions for each. Keep on thinking about it. And as I said before, think about the team of teachers you're working in and what do you need? What kind of person do you think would really be a useful addition and would really be able to make a new contribution, some refreshing new ideas maybe to your teaching? Read through, stop for 3 or 4 minutes. Then if you had to choose 2 of these people to come in and maybe complement your own teaching or that of your team in your school, you let us know. Take some notes, keep them. This is your personal learning record. More than learning, I'd say reflection. It's you reflecting on teachers and teaching. So stop now and read through for a couple of minutes and take your notes. Not only do we have teachers, of course, but we also have learning spaces. So learning space, which could be a classroom. So where can you give class? Think for a moment. Where can you give class? In a classroom, in the gym, in the playground, in a field, in a park, at a museum, at somebody's home, remote learning over the internet, at the seaside, in the kitchen. There are so many places. You don't actually need a formal classroom, but generally we do have them. And these are just 6 options. How do you arrange your class? A traditional one. What's the advantage of that? Lets you see everybody, they're all looking at you and you're looking at all of them. Disadvantages? Maybe the ones at the back can disengage a little bit. Having said that, you can choose where you want those who are likely to disengage to come and sit down at the front. Some kind of disruption maybe, because some at the back are nearer the door, ones on the left are nearer the window, so there tends to be distraction going on. That's the truth. Anything else you like about a traditional learning space, a traditional classroom? A round table. That's nice. Everybody's looking in. There's a common workspace. That's good, isn't it? Unless you lose a couple of students because they've decided to sit under the table. And I think that's so tempting, especially for small children. You would also likely be losing a lot of space, which is given over to the table itself. And of course, if everybody doesn't have their own individual workspace, there's a slight problem maybe of demarcation. Well, this is mine, or move your book, or you've got your stuff in my area. My learning zone. Lets the teacher walk around the outside and see what people are doing, which is nice. The horseshoe. Everybody's engaged, teacher walks in, is able to have proximity to everybody, depending on the moment. Disadvantage of that, well, it kind of uses the space, doesn't it? So you need to have like a decent amount of space to do this. But it's ideal, isn't it? It's also the teacher as performer. A double horseshoe. That's quite nice because you can fit more in, and you can choose who's in the part which is nearer the teacher or the trainer, and therefore kind of make sure they're paying attention, and give them a little bit more help if you feel they need to be. Group pods, again, you need more space, but you can put the kids or the learners in small groups. You can split them into twos, into fours. You can join two groups again and ask them maybe to work together. And our pair pods, again, pair work needs a lot of input from the teacher to actually go around and make sure people are working. You need space. You need to make sure they are going to be compatible, the pairs. And you need to make sure they're going to be working, not just kind of chatting away and having fun. Which one do you prefer? Think. Take 5 minutes, or however long you need, and make a list of some of the advantages and uses and some of the disadvantages. I say uses that some seating arrangements might actually be better for different age groups or for different subjects. Stop now, take 5 minutes, take some notes. Okay, naked teaching day. Good Lord. All right, so if somebody said to you it's naked teaching day, how would you feel about that? Go through the questions. What's a synonym for naked? Does this sound positive or negative to you? How would you feel in a dream if you were naked in class as a teacher? What conditions would have to be met to organize such an event? Do you think your colleagues would be for or against this? What might be the benefits of such an event? Okay, of course, we're not talking about clothes. We're talking about resources. So what do you rely on in class resource-wise? Are they the books, the pencils, the paper, your smart board, your laptop, your projector? What really couldn't you do without? And how often do you teach effectively without any resources? I would imagine that the younger the students, the less resources you actually need, because you're stimulating, basic physical actions, listening, watching, repeating, copying, miming with your little kids, clapping and stuff. So you don't actually need stuff, which is particularly resource intensive. Look through those and try and get an idea of what Naked Teaching Day is about. I think I've given you a clue about resources. Stop now and take 2 minutes to read through and to make some notes. Okay, so this is Naked Teaching Day, and I'm going to let you read through, take 5 minutes now, and just get an idea of what it's about. So stop now and read through. This is Naked Teaching. How do you feel? Maybe take some notes. And again, talking about classes, look at these three possibilities. What can you see? Where do you think they're from? What's the advantage of each? And which would work best for you? Make some notes. Stop now. Take 5 minutes. Take some notes. And here's a task maybe we could share with the kids. If we asked our students to do this, what might we learn from them? We might learn what they thought was going to be user-friendly or learner-friendly. We might also ask the kids to add things, and some are going to be completely, ridiculous, like the free Coke machine or free popcorn for everybody, or beds so we can just have a little sleep if we're tired, of course. But you might ask them to show where they'd be sitting and say, for example, if you've got 25 kids in your class, tell the students they can only choose 12 and to give you their plan. Which 12 students would they include? Are there any they would exclude? Why would they do that? It's important not to go over and tell them who's been excluded, but it might be a help for you. If we gave the two tasks below, which age groups would we be working with? Probably on the left with older secondary students and on the right with smaller primary students, although that perspective might be difficult for them to work with. Which subjects could we integrate the task with? Maybe on the left, a technical drawing or technology or something like that. And on the right, with drawing, with colors, a simple picture dictation, for example. And finally, I'm just going to leave you with a video, which is from Finland, a school built for all. Watch that. And your assignment, which is the ideal classroom for the child or the ideal classroom for the teacher. Compare 250 words. You might want to write down a short introduction about what a learning space or classroom is normally, what a child's perfect classroom would be like, and what a teacher's ideal classroom would be like. Don't feel bound by experience. Okay, use your imagination, of course, and then maybe a little conclusion at the end to tell us why they're not always the same. Okay, so thank you very much, and I will see you next time. Okay, thank you for coming.